Today is International Women's Day, and I just want to show some love. I want to show some appreciation. First of all, my ma, me mam, me mother, my mother, me Marge, Her Majesty, the Queen. Without her, I would not be the woman I am today, straight up. Without the aunties, the cousins, and the other female relatives that constantly impact my life in one way or another, without them, I wouldn't be who I am today either. And of course, without my homegirls, my homies, my confidants, my buds, again, without them, I mean, who even am I? Also, the acquaintances, the people that I interact with on a daily basis that don't necessarily fall into the bracket of friend or family, but are equally as important, they too impact the person I am today. I know that, I feel that, and I am so thankful for that. Today is a day where we can just take the opportunity to extend our gratitude to some of the women that have made a mark on our lives. So there's a theme every year, and the theme this year is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. That's basically all about investing in women's education, healthcare, and just basically moving things up a bit more when it comes to gender equality. Speaking of gender, as someone that's in the sex and relationship space, I just feel it's important that we acknowledge those that have basically paved the way for women like me to be able to speak freely about sex and orgasms and relationships and everything around that. It wasn't always like that. And in fact, it wasn't that long ago. Women just couldn't speak like that. They couldn't be so free with it. And if she did, then she's going to be labeled a hoe, a slag, and this and that. And, you know, the slut shaming was real. And to be honest with you, in some spaces it still is. But the difference today, most people know that crap cannot fly in certain spaces. So yeah, whilst people still hold those views, they kind of have to go underground with that mess. So who are we saluting? Okay. So I'm not going to bore you with a timeline of different events that took place leading up to, I guess, what we could call the female sexual awakening. But what I will say is, by the 1970s, more than half of people were not virgins by the time they got married. And actually, a lot more people around this time began to move away from the idea of marriage, which I guess in some ways kind of signals the start of the female empowerment movement, in that where it was once a pressure for a woman to be married by a certain age and have kids and just be the housewife, there now appeared to be no need to feel like the only way you succeeded is if you fit into that stereotype. That definitely would have empowered the women that just didn't want to get married, at least. Even though the pill had been introduced in the 1950s, it started to gain popularity around this time. And that basically gave women more control over their bodies. They could choose who they wanted to sleep with and not have to concern themselves so much with the risk of becoming pregnant. Music fast became the medium where people were free to express themselves sexually, and of course that included women, especially in some of the genres that I like. Now, I know I've kind of spoken about women in the music industry before, but it is kind of relevant to today, as it is to every day. In my head, it was definitely the 90s that really kind of ramped up the we are women and we are here talking up the things in music kind of vibe. Yeah, you had artists from yesteryear like Diana Ross, the Shaka Khan women that were just powerful vocally, and they just had this kind of presence that made you know, like, this is a woman and she is a force to be reckoned with. But it was artists like Mary J. Blige and Little Kim that made it a thing to be straight up sexy, but gangster with it, a little bit vulnerable, but feminine with an air of dominance. It was also contradictory, but it made perfect sense. And then you had the likes of Erykah Badu. Now, she oozed sexuality and sensuality on a completely different level. It was inexplainable, but you kind of understood it. The same applies for Lauryn Hill. She flipped between singing so sweetly to rapping with this kind of thugged out but sexy attitude. Janet Jackson, the uncontested queen of seduction. Like, Janet was just super sexy everything. The way she moved, the way she spoke, of course the way she sang, but it was the whole thing, the whole package that just made Janet this icon. And then there was Madonna. Lord Jesus, Madonna. She literally banged it all out there and told the world, you gon' eat this. Madonna was the shit. And we couldn't deny it. Everything from the comb bras through to writing books about sex to, yeah, just like having dudes chained up, tied up, just there at her beck and call for her gratification. That's just one of the many ways Madonna's iconic. I could go on. Foxy Brown and Faith Evans. Again, girls that could hold their own, embody femininity and sensuality, but you just knew from what they were saying, they were not to be played with. Like, you cannot play with them, play with them. You know what I mean? That was the kind of message that was being sent out to young women at the time. It's okay to be sure about yourself. Don't take no crap from any man that wants to tell you otherwise. That was absolutely the narrative. Ashanti, Aaliyah, Eve, again, the same thing. And then following on from them, you had Destiny's Child telling you it's okay to want a soldier. I mean, it was like, if his status ain't hood, I ain't messing with it. Do you know what I mean? When Beyonce broke out from the group, it was all about self-discovery, more sensuality, self-acceptance, knowing who you are, being proud of who you are, you know, really flying the flag for female empowerment. Same thing with Nicki Minaj. You know, she went up against the guys and was like, you know, I can wrap you under the table and still be sexy with it, right? And it's just been non-stop ever since. You know, you've got the Megans, just all the female artists, or most of them are on this wave of, yes, we are proud to be women. I mean, most of those artists were R&B and hip hop, but it was the same thing as far as reggae dancehall was concerned. You had those girls from way back in the day that were doing their thing, you know, like the Lady Swords, the Patras. They paved the way for artists like Spice and Shenseea, two huge artists that openly expressed their sexuality through dance, through their lyrics, just through their presence alone. You feel it. I mean, reggae dancehall has to be some of the most liberating music around. I'm not going to get into the lyrics because, I mean, some people question the lyrics and, you know, there's a debate around what we're doing with the lyrics. But essentially, the music itself is liberating. It allows women to feel liberated. When you listen to the lyrics and when you watch the performances, again, a lot of people may say it's hypersexualized or over-sexualized, but ultimately it's a form of expression. It's saying we are women and we love this fact. There ain't a damn thing you can do about it. You're going to take this, you're going to absorb this, you're going to watch this. This is what you're getting. And if you don't like it, there's the door. So yeah, today's International Women's Day. I could go on and on and on, but I won't. But I will say to all the women doing what women do in the best way that they do it, I salute you.